Asobi!
Live.
Laugh.
Play.
Hi guys, I'm River and welcome to my River review of Phantasy Star Online 2. I say as if I've been doing this for months already. You can clearly tell I'm super prepared with my wrinkly ass shirt and my pale ass face. Let's just get right into it though. It's not about me, it's about this game. Phantasy Star Online 2 is an MMORPG, available in Japan, centered around combat, clearing certain objectives such as bounties, fetch quests, time attacks, available in Japan, available free to play on PC and Vita in Japan. Phantasy Star Online 2 is the, let me see, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Phantasy Star Online 2 is the, I want to say 12th game in a, that's probably wrong, but it's a game in a long series of games which I would say is Sega's take on the Final Fantasy series. It started way back on the Sega Master System with Phantasy Star. Since then, it's been on the Genesis, the Game Boy Advance, the PlayStation Portable, the GameCube, the Dreamcast, the Game Gear, the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3, the Xbox. Look, basically, it's been around. I personally first heard about Phantasy Star Online through a billboard in the Dreamcast version of Sonic Adventure 2. I believe it's when you're fighting your first gun robot boss. We got it later for GameCube, and my sisters and I played it for years. And then even later, I migrated to Phantasy Star Portable 1 and 2 for the PSP. Hell, I'd probably still be playing them today if they weren't removed from the Vita store. Anyway, this game plays with a sort of linear style, with a third-person free camera, which you can switch to a sort of awkwardly controlled third-person shooter over-the-shoulder view. Features several combinations of melee, magic, and ranged combat, has a pretty good variety of classes and subclasses, encourages playing in parties of 4, and features a pretty impressive variety of colorful, alien, otherworldly stages, quests, boss fights, and raids, which they call emergency quests. I'm on kind of a personal hiatus from this game, but in the several months that I had played, I made it to level 57 and never got past chapter 1, and the game starts you on chapter 0. The story chapters are actually very low in difficulty, but in order to progress through the story, you have to fulfill a series of objectives on a bingo card-style matter board in order to unlock the next chapter. I figured I'd just do this while grinding and participating in party quests, and wound up focusing more on limited-time seasonal events. As far as the series-wide story goes, the primary constants are the base races of human, Newman, and castes, the names of items and techniques, and the recurring final boss of sorts, Dark Fowls, or Dark Force in earlier games. In Phantasy Star 1 through 4, the story takes place in the Algol system, and tells a series of events that will eventually lead to the system's demise, culminating in the reveal of Dark Force. In Phantasy Star Online, the Algol system is never directly referenced, but the United Races live on large carrier ships designed to support life while they search for a new planet system to call home. The first ship, Pioneer 1, lands on a planet called Ragol, attempts to clear the way for the other ships, encounters the then-dormant Dark Fowls, and contact is, of course, lost. Years pass, Pioneer 2 gradually sends hunters to the planet to find survivors and salvage the situation. Dark Fowls is eventually encountered and defeated, and the story moves on to dealing with similar dark forces left in Fowl's wake. In Phantasy Star Universe, the story takes place in the Goral system, a system with a history of race-divided civil war. At the time of the story, the races have formed an alliance, but the android-like caste race seems to hold a benevolent sort of superiority. In a semi-spoilerish summary, the protagonist is working for the alliance against a terrorist group called the Endrum Collective, whose leader is eventually revealed to be the reincarnation of Dark Fowls. Fowls is once again defeated, and an expansion has you once again dealing with the aftermath. The portable games also tackle some vague incarnations of Fowls, with the PSP game Phantasy Star Portable 2 Infinity attempting to connect the PSU universe with that of PSO, and thus pave the way for PSO2, also only available in Japan. In Phantasy Star Online 2, the official summary is that the Oracle fleet travels from system to system, making planets safer, more inhabitable, and even finding ways to mutually advance their technologies and industries. Though when you play and find yourself cutting, blasting, and incinerating your way through an alarming amount of native creatures, the Arks, as they call themselves, almost seem more like space pirates. poachers, really. Once again, we encounter a new version of Dark Fowls. Now I can't help but feel like maybe we're the parasites and Dark Force is sort of following us around trying to curb our meddling with the natural order of things. It seems like every time Dark Fowls appears, it's awakened by one of the humanoids of one of the races. All that being said, I guess it's entirely possible that while the Algol system is never really mentioned again, maybe the surviving races have all split up and gone their own ways to try and find refuge from the destruction wrought by the initial awakening of Dark Force, and the story is actually all contiguous, in some way. Soundtrack is one of my favorite features of games. I have probably 8 weeks worth of just video game and movie soundtracks in my music library alone. When people ask me what I listen to, it's pretty hard to explain, and I feel weird for them. It's pretty much had its own style from game to game, and while I haven't really played through Phantasy Stars 1 through 4, I have played pretty much all of Phantasy Star Online, which had my favorite soundtrack so far. It was ambient, dark, but still very catchy and inviting to the adventurer. PSU's soundtrack was lighter and more opaque. In fact, the portable versions got rid of the explore music altogether, and it was just combat music the whole way through. I ended up turning that volume down really quick. PSO2's soundtrack is more electronic and dancey. It's more combat focused. They do have explore tracks, but they still kind of push you along, and they have a lot of references to the Phantasy Star Online soundtrack, which I thought was really cool. I mean, I haven't turned it off or found a way to replace it yet. As far as the art style goes, the jump in style from games like Skyrim to Elder Scrolls Online has made me notice a sort of graphics economy that I'm sure makes more sense for the kind of large-scale design and high-bandwidth gameplay required of an MMO. PSO2, for the most part, maintains the art style of its online predecessors, but almost immediately strikes me as glossy and over-bright to compensate for potential lack of detail. I mean, that's just my opinion, though. The game is still very pretty and a definitive graphical step up from previous entries. I'm sure you're just drooling over my ultra-high settings as we speak. I know I say this a lot, but I feel like as I get older I have less time and attention to devote to games, and that's especially true of MMOs, which, I mean, let's face it, can almost sometimes be like a part-time job. But the PSO series gameplay has a kind of draw to it that keeps me coming back now and then for fun, fast-paced, colorful combat, and a deep, dark storyline. Currently, the game is only available in Japan and Southeast Asia, and with a bit of work in the right ISP or a VPN, in other countries. But Sega seems insistent on releasing it for the West, eventually, and most likely nowhere near as feature-packed as the Japanese release that we're currently playing. When it does, though, I'll most likely play again and maybe even get you some footage. For now, though, I'm more interested in being cast in the English dub. Well, thank you all for joining me for my first River review. I do think the title is kind of stupid, maybe pending, perhaps not super original. So let me know what you think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, share, do all those social networky things. And remember, hashtag live, laugh, play. Ladies and gentlemen, Vound. Vound is an iOS app coming soon to Android that allows you to record and share 11-second sound bites, Google or take a picture to attach to it, and share it with the Vound network, Facebook and or Twitter, whatever works for you. It's sort of like Vine, but with 5 extra seconds of added playtime and without the added aggravation of having to visually entertain your captive audience. Something we here at Asobi certainly have no trouble with, right? Right? Allow me to give you a demonstration. In a world where amateur impressionists have no proper social media representation, only one app will step up to the plate to deliver a simple, intuitive, and feature-packed platform for millions of man-children to spam their friends and family with terrible attempts at Christopher Walken and the movie trailer guy. Well, that was about 11 seconds. Let's hear how it came out.
I'm a humongous douchebag who thrives on your attention and validation.
So check it out. It's totally free, totally awesome, and totally coming soon to an Android near you. Soonish.